Come on and go cruising with your friends, man. Call Ivy Munn with Capturing Memories Together Travel Agency for a great Caribbean cruise today for just $3,647 and ask about the onboard credit of $50 when you call her at 830-613-0161, or you can find her on the web at www.capturingmemoriesttogethertravel.com.
Of totality. That is how many people live within the path of totality without ever traveling. All of the other lines then show you how many people live 100 miles away, within 200 miles, so forth and so on. That's to say, all of those people, if they want a better view, they're headed to the line of totality. More often than not, they're going to be headed to Texas. Because in April, we have the best weather, the least amount of cloud coverage, we have the bluebonnets, and then in our area, we have all of the 5 lakes and everything else that you and I know just brings people here naturally, regardless. So, you can expect the crowds, that's for sure. On April 8th, we will be experiencing a total solar eclipse. We are in 100% totality, and that duration in completion will be 2 hours, 40 minutes, and 34 seconds. We will have 4 minutes and 21 seconds of total totality. During that time, that's when you are able to take off your solar eclipse glasses and view what someone has described to me as a 360-degree view of a sunset. But for everything during the duration, outside of the 4 minutes and 21 seconds, you are going to want to be wearing your solar eclipse safety glasses. How many of y'all experienced and got to see the October 14th, just this past Saturday, that eclipse? Okay, and we all did it safely? Perfect, I love it, awesome. So without going any further in the eclipse slides real quick, I do just want to say, part of what we decided from the very beginning, instead of marketing, bring people here. They're coming regardless. We don't need to market that. We changed our trajectory to market the safety of that. And how can we get them here safely? How can we make sure that it is organized chaos at best? And how can we make sure that when they leave Burnet County area, they leave with a good taste in their mouth and want to come back again? So that's how we have kind of approached the marketing and communications side of everything. Some opportunities that we have. Tourism, economy boost, the things that we can learn from this, the things that the library is doing throughout now and April. They are really working on educating their young readers and things like that, the things that scientists can do. There's so many things that they can only test and experience during the actual eclipse. It's nothing that they can recreate. And so because of that, we're going to have, again, that many more people in our area. You've got bringing people together, a lot of good things that can come of it, and then we have, obviously, the local impact, which is, again, where we have focused more of our efforts on, just so that we can all prepare the best we can. Some of the impacts, our gas stations will be heavily, heavily impacted. We will be having crazy amounts of traffic. Add with that our main thoroughfares, 281, 1431, 71, and 29. None of those are major highways. Those are our main roads. Our gas stations, our grocery stores with all of those essentials will be kind of like COVID all over again. Making sure that we have our medical equipment and our medications on hand ahead of time. Knowing that our restrooms are going to be heavily, heavily impacted. Again, a lot of us out in this rural area have septic systems and well services, so making sure that we're staying ahead of that. And then knowing that our cell phone services and our internet services will be impacted because of the crowds as well. So how can we prepare? I do have these, and then I also have sheets right here, tips for locals and then tips for businesses that I would encourage all of y'all to get depending on what capacity you may need that in. So, some tips for how to prepare as a resident. Again, stocking up on those essentials like food and water and things like that ahead of time. We can anticipate that this traffic and these crowds will be here from Thursday, April 4th through that Tuesday, April 9th. So really making sure that you are staying ahead of that curve and ahead of the extra people that will be coming in. Canceling any non-emergent appointments. I know that Baylor Scott and White down off 71 has already stopped all elective surgeries that day. They will be operating from more of a clinic basis in emergency. Having your medications on hand, again, checking in with your local Walgreens and Atkins isn't here anymore, is it? Are they still? In Marble Falls, okay. HEB, all of that, making sure that you're getting those things ahead of time. If you see that you'll be running low even shortly after, making sure that you ask your doctor or ask for that refill beforehand so that if they have impacts shortly after, that you're not struggling trying to keep up. Again, avoiding 281, 29, 14, 31, and 71. Really, if you can, just stay off the roads that day. We want y'all to experience it, we want you to have fun with it, but we want to just also leave the roadways open for law enforcement and then all of the tourists that will be coming our direction. Cell phone and internet services may be limited, they will be limited. Having a plan to work from home. I know a lot of our schools, Lampasas, Burnet, Marble Falls, Lomita, Llano, all of those schools will be closed the day of. The county has also deemed that a holiday as well to keep all those that are not essential workers off of the roads also. And then, obviously, ensuring proper eye safety. How we can prepare as businesses. Anticipating up to 100,000 visitors. That may even be kind of a conservative guess. We have Reveille Peak Ranch is one of our, they are doing a See Texas Eclipse Festival that is anticipated to bring in about 60,000. We have a lot of other organizations that are doing smaller events, but the people will be coming. And again, then you're adding that to all of the small roadways that we have. Knowing that your restrooms will be in high demand, regardless of if you are a retail boutique or you are HEB, your restrooms will be used. And so just knowing that ahead of time and learning what your business has the capacity for. Expect more cash transactions. Not only for y'all as businesses, we are also meeting with all of the banks as well, letting them know the cash that they need to have on hand to be prepared for that. Having supplies for the additional crowds so that you will still be able to resume business, because the eclipse then starts, I'm all over the place. I've only had half a cup of coffee. Please forgive me. The Bluebonnet Festival starts the Thursday after the eclipse. So not only making sure that you are ready for the eclipse crowds, but then that you are able to function properly and officially, successfully, all of that coming that Thursday for our biggest festival as well. So with that being said, then evaluate when you will receive your deliveries and just plan accordingly. Knowing then for businesses, when your cell phone and internet services are limited, that then lends to why cash transactions are much more popular. If you're using Square or something like that, you may not be able to even take credit card payments. And then the biggest thing for y'all as businesses is planning for your staff. If it usually takes them 10 minutes to get to work, allow them maybe even up to an hour, depending on when their shift starts. If they get off at 3, they're probably not going to get home until much, much later. So just being aware of all of that as well. Some eclipse safety traffic. This will be the #1 issue. Again, we have a lot of venue spaces that are planning different events within the area. So if you are not one of those people that is going to one of those events, then just enjoy this eclipse from your backyard. And then communications. We will have our cell phone towers will be completely inundated because of all of the extra traffic that we will have. Emails and computers should be fine. We're also looking at, I know the city, and Adrian may be able to speak to this more chiefly. We are looking at a messaging system to push out, if it is not emergent, to be able to text law enforcement, or to be able to push out little geocaching once they come into a certain area, that they are pushed certain messagings to just alleviate all of the calls and problems that we could potentially have. The public safety, I know we've talked at some point of shutting down a few side roads so that they have the opportunity to get from one point of Burnet to the other point of Burnet without ever having to go through the main intersection of 29 and 281. And then again, restrooms, just super important. And then, Bluebonnet Festival starts that Thursday. After the Eclipse is that Monday. If we can just start communicating with all of the restaurants, all of the businesses really, and seeing who will be open and what capacity you'll be open. I know some of the restaurants have talked about doing a limited menu to ensure food can get out quickly and effectively, and to get people in and out. And then if you have a special event that you are planning, or you know of a special event, if you can let the chamber know, and then if you can also let the county know, we have different areas and ways that we can help y'all promote that. And then just for us to have it on our trajectory as well, so that when we are mapping things out for our safety side, they know where they need to be stationed and things of that nature. We will be having emergency management command centers throughout the county. We will be breaking up the entire county into 5 zones, kind of using a quadrant from 281 and 29, and then the bridge in Marble Falls will be zone 5. Just really placing all of our law enforcement throughout there strategically so that they're able to get to issues and problems that much faster. And then there are some resources. I figured the biggest thing is for y'all to just ask me those questions that you have, and I may call upon Chief Lee and Allison and different people from different capacities. This is a group effort by far. There is no way that I could even begin to do all of this on my own effectively. So our biggest hope is that it will be organized chaos, and that when people leave the Burnet area, they leave with a good taste in their mouth, and they leave wanting to come back in another capacity. And so hopefully by all of our efforts and what we're doing, we are creating that. Yeah. Questions?
So with the large event at Reveling Ranch, are the owners of Reveling Ranch responsible for hiring their own security so as not to further stress the county?
Yes, they'll bring in their own security and EMS for that event.
Because that's a lot of people.
I know that they also plan on having a general store set up. They are very much so trying to be once you come in, you're not leaving until that Monday night or that Tuesday. They're also working with us specifically on when they're releasing cars and how many cars they're releasing to just help with the traffic flow. To kind of put in perspective for y'all, in 2017, that Eclipse up in Wyoming area and Idaho, a 200-mile stretch was taking about 8 to 9 hours of travel time.
Blair, can I speak to that real quick? Michelle's question. Just so everybody knows, the people that are organizing that event at Reveille organized the one in Wyoming last year. So while we have a lot of questions, they really don't have as many questions as we do because they've lived it. So they've learned, and they will be, like she said, she touched on it, but once you get to Reveille Peak and some other events like that, but they're going to be self-sufficient, and they shouldn't be a strain. And once people get in there, then our local law enforcement, everybody can worry about everybody else and not those people there, because they're going to be trickling in over a 4-day period. And like she said, then on Monday, when it's our worst day, they're there. They're not leaving. and then there'll be a scheduled leave on Tuesday. So I would say highly organized in that regard, and probably a good thing if they're bringing that many people that they're doing it the way they are. So.
So those of us who live beyond Redwood Ranch should maybe stay home on Tuesday.
Yes.
Maybe we should stay home on Tuesday.
Yes.
Yeah, it'll extend.
Get out the party rate. So that's going to be several thousand more people.
How many people are they expecting?
I'm hearing 60, but it'll be between 40 to 60.
I know they were sold 10,000 tickets, so, and they haven't been opened, they haven't even announced their music and bands and all that different kind of stuff, so it's gonna be a lot. Are any of those people staying past Tuesday? Do we know? Yeah, we hope, but.
That's a good question, and we have a meeting with them coming up. That's a good question. I'm not sure if it's a mass exodus on their part then on that Tuesday or not. I know with us not having school on Monday, but starting school then on Tuesday with normal hours, Dee actually and I were just randomly having a side conversation, and she brought up the fact, will those kids that live up that direction on 2341 be able to make it to school on time? That's where we're at in communication right now with that event, is they are willing and want to work with us. And so if they need to keep school, dismissal on their part until after school starts on our end, then they will. Yes, sir.
Just a quick question. You're recommending everybody be ready to stay at home and work from home. And then the next statement was your internet and cell phone services. So I'm just curious about any comments that anybody has any ideas on how you work from home if all your computers and cell phones are shut down.
That's a good question.
I can help with that one.
Okay, your hyperfusion guy might be able to help with that.
We do internet in the area, so definitely what she said with the cell phone towers, those will definitely be maxed out. So you're going to want to make sure your phone has Wi-Fi calling capable. Generally speaking, that'll help a lot. Spectrum doesn't have a whole lot of open public Wi-Fi hotspots around the area, so most of your Spectrum lines should stay pretty clear if you're working from your business. But I would highly recommend that Wi-Fi calling feature. That should help kill any Wi-Fi, issues with your phone or making phone calls, things like that. That's your best bet for that.
All the beds are rented, everything's been full for a long time.
Yes, there are still, I looked at just a few last week actually, and there are still very, very few. For the low price of $20,000, you too can stay at a Lake Buchanan home for 3 nights. Over the Eclipse. So
I think they're pushing closer to 30 now.
yeah, right? I have glasses up here if anybody needs them. If you didn't get any after the October or for the October one that we just had this past Saturday, if you did get some for Saturday, they are still good until April. So we are just asking that you please keep those, because I know we have tons right now, but something tells me once we get closer to the April date, people will be pining for them and needing much more. And then I also have Eclipse tips that we kind of went over right here for businesses. That I would love for y'all to take, and we will also be dispersing again as we get closer. And then there's one for locals as well. And then we have made one for tourists also that we will be having at HEB when they go by, at convenience stores when they run in, at the clinics throughout town. We're also looking at kind of maybe a geo-catching system that as they come into our county line or as they come into our city lines, that they might be getting hit with something that would then give them the alerts and things that they need. Yes, ma'am.
I was wondering if anyone is making any paper maps in case all this stuff does fall down, people don't know where to go, they don't know.
That's something we
You
could
don't have to
absolutely.
use your odometer to get 6 miles here.
Sure.
3 miles here,
Right. No, I think that's a great idea, because as we get closer to the dates, and especially once we know bigger things happening throughout and kind of some of those pinpointed areas of where people may need to go, I think that's a great idea. We can absolutely look into something like that.
You should also include like restaurants, because if you're stuck in town,
Yes.
they don't know where we all are.
Absolutely.
Where to eat, that's a good idea.
I feel like it's like what Dylan and I from Taming of the Eagles, we're talking about that just kind of as a whole, and then piecing together too, I think, and where it might be, especially for the Eclipse. We oversee all of the county. Well, if you're up at Taming of the Eagles and you see Opie's Barbecue, that might sound great. That's all within Burnet County, but you have no idea that you're gonna spend 7 hours driving to Opie's Barbecue. So maybe something, when you see that map in a quick glance, you can see then the distance of things. So absolutely, we can make that happen.
One tiny thing. Just if anybody else wanted to, if they just want to ask questions, Tiffany here, she's our new customer care manager for Hyperfusion. So if anybody has any questions just on, mobile phones and, your Wi-Fi, making sure it's configured correctly the day of, we can certainly help with those things. We've been, planning for this Eclipse for quite a while as well. So we've been playing with different tests, what systems work, what don't, what brands are good, what brands can handle lots of connections, what ones can't, those kinds of things.
Like brand of phone.
Brand of Wi-Fi routers, your network and your business, because I'm sure most people have, routers and things like that. And some of them just are not good at handling lots of Wi-Fi connections. That's just the way it is. So,
To your point about the full accommodations, do you have any tips for people who are wanting to lease out their land to people who have RVs that are coming in, or who are wanting to lease out their houses in Lee Town?
Honestly, I would guide you to the safety side of things and have you either talk, if you're within the city limits, I'd have you talk to Chief Lee. If you were within county limits, I'd have you talk to Trevino and Sheriff Boyd, just to make sure that you're thinking of the water that they may need and that you are approaching it from the right point to be able to actually accommodate the people that you it's great to make an extra buck, but can you accommodate them and do so appropriately?
Question for either you or the county judge or whoever knows the answer. Mass gathering permit, is that a requirement?
It is, and that is something that Derek Marchio, our emergency management coordinator, and our sheriff and Vicenta have all kind of come together. And the way that it reads is 45 days prior to the event. However, because it is such an event, and because it is the magnitude that it is, we are changing that and having them submit everything much earlier on so that we can make sure all of the T's are crossed, all of the I's are dotted.
Do you know the numbers on that?
Then how many?
2,500.
So if you look at Health and Safety Code, Chapter 751, that's got it all laid out, exactly what you have to have. It's generally 2,500 people, but that changes based on if you have alcohol, the age of the people that are there, but that's all broken down. So if more than, I think, 51% of your population there is under a certain age, you have to have less, it takes less people to get to mass gathering. So,
Could you repeat that code number?
751, Health and Safety Code, Chapter 751, and it's all about mass gatherings. And Burnet County, years ago, it goes to the judge, but Judge Oakley, they delegated it to the Sheriff's Department. So if you read it and it says you need to get with the county judge, in Burnet County, you need to get with Chief Trevino or the Sheriff's Department, because they're the ones that will be handling the mass gathering, facilitating that, and then it gets filed in my office. So, but it breaks it down very, very precisely what constitutes this. It depends if there's music there. It really is. It really kind of breaks down exactly what, and you can figure out if you fit into any of those categories. Just don't delay, because we do have to have a hearing, and we can't have all these hearings right before the event in order for them to get out to your facility, to make sure you have the safety, your ingress and egresses, all those kind of things have to be checked by law enforcement, so.
And on top of that, Jacinta, you were talking about putting in for opening your property for just some RVs or whatever. That's a good thing to read because it helps build that groundwork. Did I think about the water? Did I think about the sewer? Did I think about, so maybe you're nowhere near that number, but it sure helps give you a good checklist to make sure that you're giving a good health and safety for your property.
I would mention too, the deal about the cell phones not working when there's a lot of people, things going on, that happens. You could have a huge concert in Austin, and in that vicinity of the concert, cell phone will work. Whenever the China kitchen burned in Marble Falls and everybody was stacked up on the road, everybody was trying to call to figure out what was going on, cell phones didn't work. So it's a real thing to have that expectation that your cell phones aren't going to work properly. So just know that going into it.
Wi-Fi calling's a great backup for that.
And that being said, for us as individuals, however, the law enforcement side, the hospital side, they all have other means of communication, but they are not worried about it once they're in their capacity, just so you know.
And calling 911 will be good.
If your phone works. Right? We're also looking at creating little postcards and again having them at convenience stores and things like that for tow truck numbers, other non-emergent numbers, but for cars and those sort of things. That's something that Allison, Chiefly, and I have talked about, creating those for all of the people coming in.
Do you know of dump stations for like RVs that they can go and pay to
Put a Wi-Fi across
do away with their waste?
Hyperfusion needs to put
I
a
don't at the
Wi-Fi all
moment.
over
That is,
town.
we'll add that. That's great. Thank you. All right. Good. Awesome. I'm always available for questions or so are all of these other amazing people. So thank y'all so much.
Thank you.